Hello and welcome to a Squirrel Chat video. This is one I've been wanting to do for a long time, as most people who know me or know the channel have been following. I am obsessed with Disney movies. It's the reason why Once Upon a Time is one of my two favorite shows. So I've wanted to do something that is a group project. I want to get a top 5 list for the channel, not just me, and it's top 5 favorites, so don't think you have to pick things based on if they're the best. If you think they're the best, and that's what qualifies your favorite movies, that's perfectly fine. All opinions are going to be taken. So the one thing I want to go over first is what qualifies as the Disney movies I'm speaking towards here. First of all, I'm talking about just animated Disney movies, and that can be over the course from the very beginning in 1937 to today. I want it to be Disney Studios movies, so nothing like Pixar or anything that Disney has bought up recently or over the course of its time. Um, and another factor that I'm going to do to exclude is no sequels. So we're just doing the originals. So no Frozen 2, no Lion King 2, none of this. So just original Disney movies, the first of each one. Of course, animated ones. So those are the movies I'm going to qualify. However, as I go over this, and I'm going to mention a lot of the movies that I can think of that go with this. If there's movies you feel like I've left off or I added to this that you don't think should qualify for some reason, please leave a comment in the please leave a comment. Let me know why you think that and which movies should have been included, which ones shouldn't have. There is one I'm going to go over that pretty pretty controversial whether it actually should be on here. I feel like a lot of people are going to push for it to be, but there is some understandability to why it's not because it definitely feels much different than all the other Disney movies. If you're watching at this point, I would like to see people say that you were at this point and you knew which movie I was talking about. So with that, I'm going to skim through this list of movies that I felt qualified for this just to give people some fresh reminders of what kind of movies we're looking at and tell them, a few stories about some of these movies and how they've impacted me or things I like about them, just different things like that. And then at the end of this, I will explain how I'm going to go through the process of coming up with the channel's top 5 as well as going ahead and putting out the ones that I think are my 5 favorite Disney movies. So we're going to start with the original, the movie that started it all. I can't believe this movie was made in 1937 because when you watch Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it is a fantastic movie even today. There's not much else you can say about it. The movie was an amazing and perfect start to Disney movies. Um, Moving on, going through the movies of the 40s, Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi. Yes, Bambi was one of the movies that was set back in the 40s. Uh, I was a little surprised. I thought Pinocchio was a little bit later, but when I found out it was in the 40s, that really surprised me. I knew it was going to be an older one, but I didn't know it was that far back. Keep moving on through the 50s movies: Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, and Sleeping Beauty. Did not know that Peter Pan was that far back. I knew it was far back. I didn't know it was that far back. I definitely want to talk about one of these movies that came close to making my top 5 was Alice in Wonderland. Is definitely one of my favorite stories today. I've read the books; they're fantastic. Um, but the one thing I wanted to mention about Alice in Wonderland, it's kind of funny about my childhood. It's one of two movies that I couldn't watch as a kid. I have not been able to figure out what traumatized me about this movie as a kid that I couldn't watch it. The other movie, not one I'm too embarrassed about having grown up and realized what traumatized me about it because a lot of adults don't even like watching it, and that's E.T. Everybody probably knows what scene I'm talking about. Uh, so moving on, going through some 60s ones: 101 Dalmatians, The Sword in the Stone, The Jungle Book. Those are the three big ones that were released in the 60s. The Jungle Book, I can just quickly touch on. Definitely a favorite of mine. Uh, Probably got a lot of comparisons to Mowgli as a kid because I just enjoyed spending most of my time out in the woods. Still kind of do, to be honest. I like going on like nature walks, things like that. Uh, Maybe not do as much tree swinging as I did, but definitely fun. And the thing about Jungle Book that just stands out to me, it has maybe not the most iconic villain, but that name, like it's a Mortal Kombat villain, like Shere Khan. That sounds like it's from Mortal Kombat and not from Disney. Okay. And moving on to the 70s, we've got the Aristocats, Robin Hood, the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the Rescuers. Okay, yeah, that's it. All right. So with that one, uh, oh, it's hard to choose which movie I'd really like to talk about out of that one because I love the Aristocats. Everybody wants to be a cat. Um, but I think the movie that stands out there is Robin Hood. Uh, like that one was just it was my favorite iteration of Robin Hood. I liked watching Robin Hood movies when I was a kid. Uh, Robin Hood Men in Tights still stands out to me this day. It's part of the reason why this is one of my favorite Disney movies. So, but yeah, like the way it is and just the message that it sends is just so funny. I feel like we can make a lot of comparisons to things to um, Prince John from that movie. And of course, just the interactions of all the characters. The way it's told from the animal's perspective is so cool. Of course, I love the fox, Robin Hood. So, continuing on, the Fox and the Hound starts us off on the 80s. Then you have the Black Cauldron, the Great Mouse Detective, Oliver and Company, the Little Mermaid. A lot of big stuff happening in the 80s there. Uh, None of those movies are just huge ones to me. Um, that being said, I know a lot of people are going to push The Little Mermaid. I have one person who watches my channels who talks a lot about The Fox and the Hound, and it is fantastic. I've definitely watched it. Going through all this, I cannot find a bad one of these. These are all movies I would watch at any given time. There are ones that stand out to me, but of course, for me, Disney movies, I can watch them all day long. All right, so now we're talking about the generation of ones that came out as I was growing up. A lot of these are some of the most important ones. These are the ones I'm going to talk about the most, actually. Going through the Disney movies of the 90s. Beauty and the Beast came out the year I was born in 91. Aladdin, Nightmare Before Christmas, Lion King, Pocahontas, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Mulan, Tarzan. Probably the decade that produced the most Disney movies, at least under the context of what I'm doing for this. Uh, just quick note on Beauty and the Beast. And actually, I'll say a couple things. Definitely my favorite characters from Once Upon a Time were drawn from this, obviously. Although the Beast and uh, Rumpelstiltskin kind of splitting stories, but overall definitely cool. And of course, as a child, because this came out when I was born, so I was basically still a baby whenever I was first exposed to this. Had to call it Booty and the Beast because I couldn't pronounce words correctly. Uh, Going through Aladdin, Aladdin honestly gets a lot of points to me because of Robin Williams. A lot of people will agree to that. A lot of people will say it's their favorite movie because of him. But a lot of the characters were great too, and of course Jafar is definitely one of the standout villains of Disney. So I mean, I have high respect for people who put this as one of their top 5 movies. Uh, Skipping ahead to the Lion King, probably just one of the standout best Disney movies. If I were to say what's definitively the best Disney movie, I would say it's The Lion King. I think it's just the epitome of what a Disney movie is. That being said, if it's not even your top 5, I understand why, but I think as an overall, I think the majority of people are going to enjoy that more than others. Uh, Going back to the movie before, probably the one that I need to talk about the most, The Nightmare Before Christmas. So it's a touchstone, it's a Tim Burton movie, it has a completely different feel than Disney movies, but A, it was released by them, and also it's it still fits the theme of what a Disney movie is for the most part. So definitely feel like it qualifies, but if you don't, please leave in the comments why you agree or why you think it shouldn't. I definitely can taking this all into consideration because I want this to be a channel based thing. I want us all working together to put this list. So, whatever you think about it, or if it's one of your top 5 movies, as I'm sure it will be for a lot of people, feel free to include that. Moving on to the 2000s, starting off with The Emperor's New Groove. Definitely one I really enjoy. Atlantis: The Lost Empire, probably the most forgotten Disney movie. Um, Treasure Planet, Brother Bear, Home on the Range, Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, Bolt, The Princess and the Frog. So that might actually have the most. I definitely did not count this going in, so those two have a lot going into them. Um, to me, probably just the most standout movie there is The Princess and the Frog. Definitely, I feel like it's the best out of the 2000s. That being said, Atlantis, ironically named The Lost Empire, is probably the most forgotten Disney movie, and I think it's definitely better than most people give it credit for. Uh, Moving on to the last gen for this, going into the decade we finished up. Tangled, Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Big Hero 6, Zootopia, and Mona. That is going to be the list. I do want to talk about Tangled and Frozen a little bit. The two that stand out to me, although there is a lot of respect towards Mona, really all of them, but Mona I think is the one that stands out. But Tangled and Frozen are the two that get compared. They were released in similar years. The only movie released between them is Wreck-It Ralph, and that one is very different, whereas those are more traditional Disney movies with Tangled and Frozen. I've said it once before on here, and I'll say it again. Maybe an unpopular opinion, but I think Tangled is far better than Frozen. If you have an opinion on that, I would like to see that in the comments. If you want to defend Frozen, please go for it. But honestly, I just feel like it's a better movie. I feel like it flows better. I feel like the story's better, the characters, everything. I want to love Elsa, but the story just feels broken in comparison to other movies. So, with that, I'm going to go over how I want this done. So, I do need, if you're going to participate in this, take your time, consider it. I'm going to probably do a follow up video for this next week so I can get plenty of votes in and then maybe revisit it as the movie, as this video ages and maybe more people put votes in that I didn't count the first time and see where it changes as the channel grows. So do want you to do this in the order, and you can do it 1 to 5, 5 to 1, whichever you need to, in the order of your top 5. So the order matters. I'm going to do it to where the higher ones get more points, and then the lower ones get less points, and that way it all meshes into a channel's top 5 favorite Disney movies. With that, I will push mine. I will start with the number 5, Robin Hood. I think it just edges out Alice in Wonderland, and Beauty and the Beast was also another one I was considering. Basically, those were the 7. Robin Hood just edges it, which is just, I love the way it told the Robin Hood story in a very unique way. And it definitely was something that influenced a lot of the things I liked growing up in life. Number 4, Tangled. It was the only Disney movie that's been released since the 90s that just stood out to me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's one that I just will watch randomly. The story's amazing. Of course, just the characters are great for it. Number 3, Aladdin. I don't have to say anything else. Genie. That's what it's going to come down to. Genie, and of course having the iconic villain of Jafar. Number 2, Nightmare Before Christmas. If it counts, I have to say that the movie that I've watched more than any movie I've ever seen in my life, and will never have the time to watch a movie as many times as I have this one, has to be on my top 5. Uh, that being said, if we get into discussion and we feel like this is going to get pulled off, I will let the people who voted for A Nightmare Before Christmas add something to their list to accommodate for this. But until we do that, Nightmare Before Christmas counts, and this is going to be my number 2. Uh, hard to say that a movie that I have uh, watched significantly less is higher on the list than A Nightmare Before Christmas, but Simba, and honestly Scar, yet another iconic villain. The Lion King, absolutely my favorite Disney movie. It's got just the cats, of course. It gets everything that I like about the Aristocats, puts it into an iconic Disney movie. Not only do I think it's the best Disney movie of all time, I have a very biasness towards that of saying it's just my favorite. With that, let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and share the video. If you enjoy the content I produce, please subscribe to me on YouTube. If you want to see me live, I stream on Twitch. My schedule is on my channel there. You can see it in the corner here. So if you want to come chat with me live, even if you don't enjoy what I'm playing, just come hang out. We can talk about movies, entertainment, different things like that. With that, I will wrap up this video. I hope to see your comments and see what y'all's see what my viewers' favorite movies are.